Hello and welcome back to the second part of my tutorial on Master of Orion. Also has to do that little sound effect there of the screen coming up. Yeah, and what I'm going to be talking about today is how to actually play the game. So I'm going to click continue here, and this is where I left us off in my sort of setup tutorial. We are playing a custom race based off the Sakura, which is why we're getting, home planet name of Sla, and all that kind of thing. Just to remind you sort of can I actually look at my own bonuses? I know I can somewhere. This is a thing. But yeah, we are the only thing that's really important to note here is that I am playing a creative race. Everything else is sort of goes by the wayside. We're playing a subterranean and a creative race with penalties to spying and a penalty to ground combat. Okay, so now you're on this screen. What do you do? If you're playing in a post-warp game or later, you're going to have a couple of ships here. So this is obviously my home planet, my home system, and there's going to be a couple of ships here, specifically 2 frigates and a colony ship if you're playing post-warp. And basically that colony ship is going to need to go somewhere and start a new colony. Except unless you're playing Omniscient, you can't see anything around you. So I'm going to start sending my ships here to begin exploring the galaxy, wherever they can reach. So you notice that when you click on them, you select all of them, so you want to unselect. Blue means that they're selected. And I already set this ship here. You can tell it's going there by the green dotted line right there. And if you can see that everywhere they can go to is a green dotted line, but places they can't go to has this red dotted line because that is out of their range. If you want to expand your range, you need to create either outposts or colonies on these additional stars or get the required research. There's research that will increase the range of your ships, and getting additional planets will increase the range as well. By the way, you can right-click on. I guess if I have nothing selected, can I click on them? Yeah, you can left-click on them. Excuse me, and it'll give you a little information on like yellow stars are the same spectral class as our sun. So yellow suns tend to be quite good. White stars are okay, and then red stars tend to actually be the worst. So actually, instead of sending this guy here, I'm going to send him over there. And I'm going to send my other frigate there. And they're going to explore those planets for us. So this is basically how you do ship. This is how you get ships to move. You just tell them to go to a solar system. If there are enemy ships there, you can choose to attack them, but they'll also get the choice to attack you. So if you end up in an enemy space, you might end up fighting. By the way, you don't actually need to worry about accidentally bumping into an enemy's planet. If you are within range of an enemy, they are going to let you know exactly what planets they are claiming dominion over. However, I will note this right now that once your ship is on its way, I don't think you can stop it. I'm pretty sure that a ship, once told to go, and once you end turn, that ship is just going to keep going until it gets there. And yeah, so this is how you navigate on this star map. So that's pretty simple. Now, what is all this other stuff on the star map here? You've got like a bunch of numbers up here and a bunch of different screens there, and you saw me fumbling around for a second on the info screen. Let's start with these ones. This is really simple. This is your money. I think you always start off with 50 billion credits, and this +7 means I'm gaining 7 billion credits per turn. Very simple. If you're running out of money, if you click on this, if you left-click on this, you can set the tax rate. That will give them a morale penalty, which means that I'm pretty sure it's just the percentage of the tax rate. So I could increase the tax here, which doesn't actually make this go up. There aren't enough people to really, we don't have a high enough population for the tax rate to have any impact yet. But this will give them a morale penalty, so they're going to work more sluggishly as you increase the tax rate. I usually avoid increasing the tax rate if I can help it. This is your command. which is how many ships you can have. For every one of these, like if you have a minus here, you're gonna start taking a big hit to your money. But this command, basically, we've got 6 command, 3 of which we're using, which is leaving us with 3. The +3 means we have 3 command left. So if I was using 4 command, it should say +2. The command is being used by my current ships, 1 for the colony ship and 1 each for the frigates. So yeah, that's where my 3 command is. This is food production. You usually want this to be 0 or more, though you actually want it to be closer to 0. You definitely don't want starvation. You don't want this to be a negative, like a red flashing number with a minus. You don't want that. But you don't really want it to go, you know, much above 0. 0 is sort of ideal because then your people are eating all the food they're producing, and none of it's going to waste. If you're producing tons of food, they could probably be doing something more productive. I'm pretty sure that additional food does get converted into money, but there's far more efficient ways to do that. Freighters, this is what this is. This is freighters. The number in brackets is, again, how many you have, and this number with the plus is the surplus or deficit of freighters. Essentially what freighters can be used for is they can be used to transport your people between planets, and they're used to transport food. Like, usually what'll happen, especially early on, is that you're probably only going to be producing food on your home planet, and you need to ship the food to your other areas. And you're going to need, for every food that colony needs, you're going to need 1 freighter, and they kind of come in batches of 5, so you don't need to worry about that too much. Just be sure you build freighters at some point, because you're going to need them. And if this number is ever negative, if it ever says like -2 or -3 or whatever, or God forbid like -20, then start building freighters. Start making them. This panel right here is a really important one. This is research. Now it says none right now because we're not researching anything, but if I click on this, it'll open up the... Are we in a post-warp? Yeah, we must be in post-warp. I feel like we should have more... I might be playing in an average game now that I'm looking at some of these technologies, but yes, this must be an average game. I think I said that, I probably said at the beginning that I was going to play a post-warp game, but I think this is an average game, but that's perfectly fine. It works either way. And this is showing you some of the more basic technologies. So essentially what you do here is, so I'll explain technologies right now, is that every time, if you're playing a normal race that is not creative, then the way it works is that you're going to go to one of these things, one of these tech trees, which, by the way, if you want to see what's coming up in the tech tree, just click on it. Like I just clicked on construction and it tells you, aha, this is what's coming up. So like if I research this, next up I'll get some automated factories and that kind of thing. So yeah, we're going to upgrade like a construction probably here because I think that's useful. But if you're non-creative, you click on one of these. Like I can get anti-missile rockets or fighter base. I have to pick one or the other. If you're creative, you don't. You get both. So we're just going to start researching this. Now, of course, if you're uncreative, when you start researching this, you're going to get one of these randomly. So don't, like, you can just click on one of them. And I know that's sort of highlighted one of them, but since we're creative, it is going to give us both. Now we're currently generating 9 research points per turn, which means that it's going to take about 13 turns. It's gonna. You'll see that once we get closer to it, there's going to be a percentage of success, which is going to go up, and yeah, eventually we'll make it. It'll eventually at least get to 100% if it doesn't make it before then. So that's these things explained. Now these panels over here, the info panel. Has all kinds of information on it, like tech, review, race. Oh, here's my race statistic. Yeah, we're a dictatorship, ground combat, espionage, subterranean, large homeworld, creative. We got all that. It tells you about the race statistics. It gives you turn summary. It gives you all kinds of stuff. The only thing that I really find terribly useful in here is the history graph. Because once, of course, it's a history graph, we need more than one dot, and we also need other people to compare ourselves to. But once you have met a couple of them and you want to see how you're doing, you can start. You can compare, like, say, your fleet. Like now, I've only got fleet highlighted, so it'll compare your fleets. So it'd be like, aha, their fleet has grown recently. Maybe they're attacking, or just to see how you're doing, and like technology, how much technology does everybody have? So I think this is a good tool for comparing yourself to others. So that's the only thing that's really important in the info graph. Races, this is a very important screen. This is like the diplomacy screen. Essentially what you want to do is like, no, look, we've made no contact with the other races, but once you do, you can have an audience with them. You click audience. Well, I can't click audience right now because I haven't made contact with anybody, but you can click audience and have an audience with them, and you can like propose treaties or demand the surrender of some of their stuff. And that's very useful. This is an important screen. Being peaceful, if you're intending to play peacefully, I suggest you try to get treaties with everybody that you can, like research and trade treaties, because not only does that give you money in the long run, but it also makes them like you more. So this is like the diplomacy screen. The racist screen is the diplomacy screen, and that's also where your spies are listed. Leaders is, from time to time throughout the game, leaders are going to show up, and you're going to have the option of hiring them, and you can assign them either to solar systems or to specific ships in your fleet, and they're going to just give them a bonus. And we may cover that if that comes up. Fleet, this tab I don't find useful at all. Leaders, nothing's going to be in there until you actually get a leader. If like an event comes up with a picture of some rather ugly dude, then you're probably just got the option to hire a leader. And if you hire them, it goes in the leaders tab. And even if you don't hire them, if you reject them, you'll still be able to hire them for another 30 turns on the leader screen. Fleet screen is not terribly useful. It shows you information on your fleet, but I feel like all that information you get just by looking here. It's like, I've got a colony ship here, and I've got, I actually should have two. I should have two frigates there. So maybe the fleet tab isn't totally useless. Planets basically is going to list all the planets that aren't yours. So I own Sla 1 and Sla 2. Is a planet that is within the same solar system as mine. It's kind of a really crappy planet, so we're not going to bother colonizing that. But this is going to list all the planets that you know of that aren't yours. And then comes the most important tab in the game. This is the colonies tab, is really where you're going to be making all your real decisions from. So you're going to make your tactical decisions here, and you're sort of going to get information on the side panel here. But to make actual decisions, you click on the colonies tab. You're gonna. This is where you're gonna assign workers and see all your planets. So you're gonna see all your colonies here. Notice that there's room for 10, but currently we've only got Sla 1, and these are my population. Currently we've got 4 farmers to feed our people. Notice that if I remove this farmer and turn him into a worker, it's kind of like a drag and drop kind of thing. Now I'm -2 food. Obviously don't want that, so we want 4 farmers. Each farmer is producing 2 food, so that's good. And we've got these bunch of scientists here, and we've got a worker here. So this is the industrial kind of thing, and this is producing science. And then this is what they're currently building. Now, I currently haven't given them an order, so I'm going to click on this, and it's going to take me to this screen. Because I accidentally made this an average technology thing, there's nothing to build yet. There's only trade goods and housing. Housing is going to increase your population. We're actually going to do that because we need more people. And trade goods is going to give you money. At this point, you actually might be going like, well, what's money for? And I kind of wish I had a building to show you, but most buildings up here, it'll say maintenance cost. So they're going to cost you money per turn, usually like 1, 2, and 3 if they're expensive, which is going to cut into your credits per turn. Notice that my credits per turn went down. I'm pretty sure that's because I chose housing, which meant that they were probably defaulting to trade goods, so this dude was producing 2 trade goods. Oh, and what all this down here means is that, to be perfectly honest, I find this not typically very helpful at all. But here it's telling you this is how much food it's producing, this is how much money they're producing, this is how much science they're producing. So that's just kind of regular kind of statistics about them. And it's also another kind of nice thing to see here is population. Like here it tells you it's a large Terran planet with normal gravity and abundant minerals. Abundant, by the way, is actually pretty standard. I think it goes abundant, poor, ultra poor on the lower end. That's either 1, 2, or 3, and then it starts becoming rich and ultra rich. But abundant is sort of the normal. And populations are really important numbers. Notice that I have 8 That's million people, by the way. These are millions. Each one of these represents a million workers. There's 8 million of them, and the planet can hold 24 million, which doesn't sound like very much. Like 24 million. Our planet currently has 7 billion. That's a totally different factor, totally different scale. But that's a lot in this game. 24 is a lot. Like, if anything above 10, I would say is a lot. Now, I am playing Subterranean, so these numbers are just going to be plain higher for me. And this is what you see, this number right here is what my population is growing by in thousands. So the population is growing by 103,000. And if I had more people working in housing, you notice that number goes up slightly. So, because they're building housing, which is encouraging people to grow, have babies, that kind of thing. So that means that my population, I'm going to get a worker about every 10 turns. Because about 100,000 takes a little bit to get to a million. Okay. So that's all this explained. I think that sort of gives you sort of the basics of what you need to do. But let's see what actually happens here. Now, what I've decided to do is I put all of them into research because they have nothing really to build. This, by the way, once you start queuing projects here, housing and trade goods are done indefinitely. Like, they're just going to keep working on that. Housing, actually, they stop if they hit maximum population, but trade goods they can do indefinitely. Just making stuff. All right, so once you've given all your orders, told your guys to go everywhere, made sure your colonies are building the right things, you just hit turn in the bottom right-hand corner, and things will jump forward. So notice that they jump forward. If I was playing this in a post-warp tech, then I would probably be giving orders quite often to these guys to have them build various buildings, but none of it's researched yet. So now we're just going to be hitting turn, like, a lot. So we found the Tau system, nothing in it. That's miserable. However, in the Einhorn system, we found, sometimes you'll find random events here, which, like here, there was just a one-time payment of 50 billion credits. So that's kind of nice. Nice little thing. We click to reveal that there's a single small barren planet. It's not terribly good. That is not a particularly good planet. So we're actually going to I'm going to send this guy over here to go scout that out, and we're gonna go scout out these red planets to see if there's anything better there before we commit our colony ship. Colony ships are very, very expensive. You don't want to use them lightly. So I recommend that you really make sure that you go to where you want to go, where you get the most benefit. All right, so we're going to end turn again. See, notice it says ETA 2. That means inter turns. That should change to 1. Now they're almost there. And one more turn, and they're there. So we've got another small barren planet, but with low gravity, which is a penalty. If you ever see low G or high G, those are penalties. High G is worse. Low G is pretty bad, though. It's a poor planet, so that's kind of a crappy planet. And nothing in the Olor system. Well, decision's pretty much been made for me about where I'm going to go. So this is a rather poor start because none of the planets are particularly enticing. Einhorn 2, I guess, is the one we got to go with. It at least, to start off with, a barren planet with abundant resources is actually quite good. I'm just miffed that it's small. But you know, beggars can't be choosers, so that thing's probably going to go there. Now, I will say something. You notice that these frigates can't make it to, like, here, to this yellow one, or to anything around here. I get the red dotted line for all. I've now explored everything I can with my frigates. However, the colony ship has a longer range, so it could go here or here. Like, notice it has that as an option. That said, you don't want to use your colony ship for scouting. Occasionally you can come across, like, space dragons, which will instantly eat your colony ship. It would eat your frigates too, but the colony ship is very valuable. So that's not something you want to do. To colonize a planet, it's very simple. You can either I could just tell the colony, I could just click on Einhorn right now, and in 2 turns it would say, like, all right, what planet do you want to colonize in Einhorn? Or what you could do is you can click on the planets tab down here, and see, now it'll tell me, like, here's the planets that we don't own that you could go to. You can sort them by climate, minerals, and size, and you can sort of like further restrict what planets are being shown. We're currently doing just all planets in range. That is in all the planets that we can reach. So we're just going to click on Einhorn, and when you click on it, it says Colony Ship 2 is course laid for Einhorn. Estimated time of arrival, 2 turns. So if you just click on it, now it's got the little symbol there, and it'll be going there. If you want to cancel that, you can just click on the colony ship and send it elsewhere. So I think that's going to go. That'll be just fine. All right. Oh, we've got our first leader. So I just ended turn, and we've got our first leader. What leaders always do is this is a ship leader. Again, they're always quite ugly. I don't know why. They're always weird looking aliens to me. But I kind of like the flavor of the game. So they almost always have an upfront cost. Like this one costs 30 billion credits off the bat, and then he's going to cost 1 billion credits a turn. Which, to be perfectly honest, he's not very good. The +5 to weaponry means he's going to improve a ship a little bit, and I just don't think he's worth the billion credits per turn. I would much rather have an economic leader at the beginning because fighting is not that big of a deal right now. Mostly we're doing scouting. You don't want to get into fights this early on, so why get a fighting leader? No intention to start fights. So we're going to reject him. When you click reject, it's going to say like, yep, he's going to stick around to see if you want to hire him later, and you've basically got 30 turns. He's still going to be in the leader screen. Like if you click on the leader screen, yep, there he is, and you can still hire him in case you change your mind for another 30 turns. Okay, so let's end turn again, and we finished researching. And by the way, because I chose the Sakura, we get this animation of the Sakura over here. And I feel like he's moving a lot faster than he should be. He's kind of twitchy. There always seem to be that way, but that's just fine. So we've got anti-missile rockets, and because we're creative, we also get the fighter base. Again, if you are not creative, you will get one of these. If you're uncreative, you will get one of them randomly. All right, so we got those. What I really want is the automated factories. That's what I really wanted, but we're gonna do that one. The 2 upgrades I just got, I'm pretty sure are passive upgrades, so they did not change anything in how we interact with the game. They're just bonuses. All right, so we're gonna colonize the pre-selected planet of Einhorn 2 because we pre-selected with our planets menu, and it's just like, yep, are you sure? Yep, we're sure. And it's gonna colonize the planet. Fantastic. There are a little landing animation and a little bit of a sound effect there, which is nice. All right, so it's a Sakura colony because that's what we're called. Cool, cool, cool. And we're going to continue to call it Einhorn just for consistency's sake. All right, so now I'll actually be able to show you how to build some buildings because these guys need a marine barracks. Marine barracks are a very basic building. Marine barracks defend the planet from invaders. It cannot do space battle, but if they try to invade the planet, the couple of marines stationed here are going to defend against ground invaders. Starbase serve basically 2 purposes, actually 3 purposes. The first purpose is it's a defense against spaceships. A starbase will be able to fight spaceships quite effectively. It can pretty much handle frigates, no problem. Destroyers, it struggles with. Once you get to like battleships, they don't have much of a chance. But starbases defend the planet. They also increase your command. This is a way to increase your command. Starbases. I think their upgraded version is called battle stations. And then star fortresses, I think, eventually. But star bases, yeah. Also, building a star base allows you to build cruisers and battleships. Like normally, most planets you can only build frigates and destroyers. And then if you want to build cruisers and battleships, you need a star base. And then the last thing it does is it also increases the range for your ships jumping by an extra 2. With scanning range bonus. Actually, I'm not sure if that applies to my ships jumping or just for interacting with other things. But yeah, we're not going to build a starbase on this planet because starbases are very, very expensive. It would take, by the way, it tells you up here. So there's a couple of things it tells you up here. It tells you, first of all, what the maintenance cost is. Then it tells you how many turns it'll take to build here and how much production it takes to build that. The cost you can pretty much ignore. It's really the time it takes to build. That's all you care about. So it does take quite a while. So they're going to be building that. This screen's not that helpful, but we're going to be building a marine barracks, and that's going to take a little bit. Now you will notice that I am running out of food. I have gotten a new I've gotten some colonists on here, which means now I need to feed them. But there's a problem with that. In order to get food from here to there, we need a freighter fleet. So we're going to build a freighter fleet. That's what these guys are going to be doing. So notice that I selected freighter fleet. I moved housing out of the way so they're not doing that. And the freighter fleet's going to build in 5 turns. That's what that 5T means. The marine barracks is not going to build for another 30 turns. So these guys are currently starving, which is bad, but I don't think you can lose your last unit. So I don't think the starvation actually matters, but they're not growing, which that's the main thing. We want that. We want this this group to grow. So yeah, we're just gonna wait a couple of turns again. Oh, actually, before we just begin waiting again, we can explore, well, one new planet. This planet is now within range because Einhorn was just taken here. Now our range has been extended, and we can go to this planet here. So yep, we're just gonna close that, and let's see. Yeah, it's gonna warn me that they have starvation, but until we get a freighter fleet, there's nothing we can actually do about it. Nothing we're actually going to do about it. Can I reach that one? No, I cannot. Alright, so, wow, Thog system is empty. There's an asteroid belt. That's not useful. Alright, so they're still starving. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if I was playing this game. I wasn't intending to play this game all the way through anyway, and this is actually a quite bad setup. There isn't a whole lot within our range that we can reach to colonize, which if you're in a position like this, if this was, for instance, your first game, I would actually kind of recommend restarting. Just saying, like, scrap this galaxy, try again, because you have nowhere to go. You'll need quite a bit of research, or you need to start sinking resources into what's called outpost ships to try to increase your range. And none of that's particularly good. Yeah, I should probably go over what you should build to begin with. So if you're a dictatorship of marine barracks, that's a good candidate for early on. Oh, and these buttons here on the side here allow you to expedite the building of things. So I can click this button, and then I can spend 75 billion credits to buy the 30 production necessary to just finish this freighter fleet. And that would cost us about half of our money. And I'm actually going to do that just to save us time. And so these guys won't be starving anymore. So now this is being produced. You can actually take these guys off. They don't need to help. They can go to research, which is nice. And if we click turn, now we have a freighter fleet, and they're no longer starving. Actually, why aren't they? Oh, it's because we got an extra dude. So what actually happened here is that they would have still been starving, but literally right as we needed it, a farmer popped. And the farmer is the default position for workers. Like, if you get a new population, they become farmers. Unless there is no farming, in which case they become workers. They never just become scientists. We can always assign them. You can always move them around. There's absolutely no friction between turning a bunch of farmers and turning them to scientists. No problem whatsoever in this game. Okay, so yeah, this is all good. So what should you build? I think I've given you the tools necessary to just do this on your own, so that you can know the controls and everything. But strategy-wise, what do you actually want to go for in your first game? So you may have noticed that I'm aiming for automated factories. I'm pretty much 100% certain that if you play in post-warp, you have this to begin with. So that's not a problem. I usually like to go, automated factories help you build things, so I like to get automated factories. That's a good one. After that, there's a couple of other good things in the construction list. There is specifically the robo miners. They help your production a whole lot. And can we scroll it down any further? No, we cannot. Oops. Clicked out of everything. But robo miners, like a lot of the stuff in the construction, especially later on, helps you build things faster, which is industry is really, really important. So construction helps you with industry, specifically like the robo-miners, the recyclotron, deep core mining, and core waste dumps. Those are all really good things. So that's a good thing to have. Power helps you with weaponry. Whoops, I didn't actually mean to switch that. Power helps you with weaponry and making your ships faster. By the way, if you ever wonder exactly what these things do, just right-click on them, and it'll tell you. So power is I don't prioritize because most of them aren't that important. Like weaponry is nice and all, but until you can actually build the big ships, it doesn't really matter. Sociology helps you. Like Space Academies is another pretty basic one. It allows you. It basically means your ships are going to get a free experience by Space Academies, which is nice. The Astro University is nice. It gives you all of your people +1 to whatever they do. They all get +1 farming, +1 industry working, +1 science. It's all kinds of good stuff. Imperium gives you lots of command. Those are kind of the good ones here. Biology is another kind of important one. Biology is primarily for farming. So biosphere increases the population of a planet by 2, which that's nice. That's a good one. And hydroponic farm just produces two food on wherever you build it, which is a really nice one to sort of cut down on freighters. Because every hydroponic farm you build on a planet that can't like farm itself, that's 2 freighters you don't have to use. That's pretty good. Soil enrichment is another good one because that makes farming a lot better, and terraforming is a really good one because it makes farming and population better on all planets you do it. So biology is really good for farming. Biology is for farming. Construction is for industrial production, and computers is for scientific research. Like research laboratory is a good one to have. That's another really nice basic one. Holo simulators is a good overall one because it gives you a morale bonus. Morale bonus being they get a bonus to everything, and planetary supercomputers are really good too. Autolab is decent. I actually find the planetary supercomputer better. The Autolab is a flat bonus that sort of gives you stuff no matter what. Planetary supercomputers, I'm pretty sure, gives you a bonus to your researchers, to your scientists. But yeah, in any case, so computers is science. Force fields and physics, I find usually I research the absolute last. I find most of these not terribly useful. There's the planetary gravity generator, which if you find lots of low gravity and high gravity planets, this fixes those planets, that's really nice. And I'm pretty sure under force fields you find, you've got where is it? Planetary radiation shields. That will fix radiated planets for you. So that's a handy bit of information right there. But these two, physics and force fields, I would leave to the end. Power is sort of like a mid-game one. Chemistry is a good one to have, primarily for the fuel cells. What the fuel cells is, it allows your ships to travel further. That's really what it does. So you can go further, explore planets further out, and go get them. So that's a pretty good one. The rest of them, like the pollution processor, there's lots of pollution processing kinds of things here. So I think I've mentioned this before in a previous tutorial, but basically pollution is going to cut down on your production. So it's a way of increasing your industrial production is by dealing with pollution. That said, though, there's like there's like atmospheric renewer, pollution processor. I think there's like one more thing in here that helps you deal with pollution, or core waste dumps under construction, which is a really advanced technology. You're not going to have that for a while, but you can get it eventually. Deep core waste dumps allow you to just deal with all pollution, like permanently. So I feel like chemistry is not a priority because handling pollution is quite handy, but the one that actually does it the best is construction. So what that means for you is I would focus on construction, computers, and biology first to get your your research, your farming, and your industrial stuff up. I would do those first. Then I would kind of do chemistry, sociology, and power, like sort of as you need. Sociology has a couple of nice buffs. But chemistry and power they help you with warfare as well. power and chemistry. So if you're expecting combat, some of those can be really, really good. And then I would leave physics and force fields as needed. If you really think like, if you look over these and are like, ooh, I really want those. But for the most part, you can do without these until the end. They give you a couple of nice bonuses. There's nothing here that I find 100% necessary. Yeah, most of these are just kind of bonuses. Okay, so that's research. Okay, and I think that should about tell you how you should play one of these games to begin with. I am going to do an entire playthrough of one of these games, and I'm not going to be, taking tons and tons of time to go over every little detail. I'm just going to kind of run through it and assume that you know a little bit. Either watch this video or, have played it yourself. And that's what I'm going to do next. So if after this you're still not 100%, if you're like, ooh, I'm not sure I could try this on my own, then watch that video and that hopefully make it, crystal clear. But I hope this video has been helpful. I do really enjoy this game. I think Master of Orion is, again, it's one of those old games that I think is worth playing even today. I think it can be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to show that off with my next video. So, yeah. I hope it's been helpful. I've been Gamer Vince, and this has been Master of Orion. So, thanks for watching.